好きです。ベルメイさん。もうあなたを絶対に一人になんかしない。
What a solid and emotional episode of Vermeil in Gold. And, when thinking about, how to critically review it, I think that the episode really hit home from like an emotional standpoint. And I think like the last couple of minutes of the episode where you had Alto just kind of like realizing his feelings that he's had all along for Vermeil, but he never obviously wanted to verbalize them, especially because somewhere deep down he kind of felt like the love between a human and a demon is kind of like not forbidden, but it's kind of one of those things to where it's like taboo in a way. But regardless, like it is what it is, and the heart wants what it wants. And obviously, Alto's heart is basically screaming out through every fiber of its being for Vermeil. And even in the same cause and effect, when Vermeil is there and he's kind of viewing and seeing her history and kind of like what made her what she was, what was the scourge on the earth that she caused, what was the thing, what was the tipping point for her. And even when he's seeing that, he can think of it from a place of understanding and really understand the place that she was in and like the loss of a family and the fact that she was just so young and the fact that her family tried to protect her. And you have all of these different events that ended up happening to kind of like cause 200 years of hatred towards humans. And you have to look at it from, her point of view as well. It's like, it's one of those things, it's one of those signals that, of course, if your family was going to get completely just murdered away, the way that hers was, yeah, of course you're going to hold like a huge grudge and a ton of anger, especially somebody who's that young. You're not going to know where to direct it at, but everybody else around you. And especially because the time frame that Vermeil was growing up in, it was very much like the demons weren't as they are kind of now, to where like, yeah, they're still kind of like feared and stuff, but before it was kind of like, Salem witch trial days in a sense. It was like very back in the day. Nothing was modernized, so everything was, it was very much like these demons are like, they don't understand it. They blame them for everything. In this scenario, there was a plague that happened, basically just a sickness that occurred, diseases that occurred, and they blamed it on this innocent girl who just happened to be of a demon descent. And it was just failure to understand. It was ignorance. It was stupidity. So you had all these different things that ended up happening to kind of like make her who she was. And it's like, yeah, you could definitely understand that being put in her shoes at that point. Like, I think no matter if, human, not whatever, like I think anybody in that position, if you have the power to take revenge in that capacity, you're going to do it. Simply put, you're going to worry about the consequences later because of what happened to you. And I think that everybody can pretty much sympathize with that. And the other part of it too is if you don't do anything, she was about to be killed by this mob of just ignorant, crazy people. So it's one of those things to where, like, yeah, on one hand, she did it as like a revenge thing for her family. On the other hand, like she did it just to simply be able to survive. But I love that Alto in those moments was able to kind of just see through all the noise and just be like, I love you for who you are, and you are who you are, and I accept you for who you are. And I like how the mage was just kind of like guiding him to all of that. And I like how the mage took such a high interest in Vermeil specifically. Like I would love, I hope at one point we learn more about the Mage of Beginnings, her, whatever her name is. I hope that we learn even, like, we've touched on her, but I hope that we learn even more about her, because she seems like a very eccentric person who took an interest in Vermeil. I want to see how they met, how she was asked to be sealed. Hopefully we get a back, a kind of like a backstory, or we get like a flashback at some point before the end of the season. Which, speaking about that, by the way, too, with Vermeil in Gold, it looks like we have one episode left, so the likelihood of that is probably pretty low. I guess at this point, the only thing we can really hope for is just a knot and a tie and put a bow on the love story between Alto and between Vermeil, and maybe him passing his bronze, what do they call, platinum tier, bronze tier, whatever. Hopefully we just kind of get a cool ending here, because there's a really strong chance that we never get a season 2. So I hope the studio realizes that, and this studio specifically is Studio Staple Entertainment. So I hope they realize that, and I hope that they put a bow on this. Leave it open, in a sense, for more to come, but I hope that they kind of put a bow on here just to kind of say, okay, like, here's what's gonna, here's what could come, but if it doesn't, here's like a good end to their love story. I think that is exactly what we need. But overall, the rest of the episode is really just more of her backstory. Really, really good. Really enjoyed the episode quite a bit. I think this was a top-notch episode. It was emotional, drove a lot of emotions within us, and I think that was what made the episode really solid. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below, as always, and I appreciate you guys coming in for another episode. This was episode 11 of Vermeil and Gold, and I'll see you guys next week for the final episode of Vermeil and Gold. Peace.